it's Bubba Rocks Media, and it's my favorite time. Once again, rising bands, and I've discovered one of the most unique original bands out there called Dead Riders. Welcome
Of course, thank you.
in. And look, I first came across you on Instagram, and you definitely stood out from the crowd with the band. The aesthetics, the sound, everything, the originality that just comes out of you guys is insane. And I knew I had to get talking to you. So I wanted to know as well, just from your perspective as an artist, how do you feel about social media? Because it's literally where I go to find bands. And you're doing quite well on it actually. And do you find it like a necessary evil as an artist?
I go through stages in the way I feel about social media, actually. And
Ah,
I've been doing it for long enough to understand the positives and the negatives and the boring bits and the parts of it that, as you say, is a necessary evil, can make you feel quite frustrated sometimes. And but also the positives, because it is through social media that sometimes we make connections, like with people like yourself,
mm,
and that, you know, people that we don't have direct access to geographically, may enjoy our music through
mm,
it. Also, I guess it is good as some kind of like showcase, like a, you know, instant sort of showroom of what your band is all about. And I I I take great care in curating the image, and you know, the of the band and everything else, so that whenever somebody visits the profile, they get, like, you know, an instant snapshot of what we're all about. So that's really how I feel about it. A lot of the time I feel drowned in it. I feel like it's really difficult to actually get through to your targeted audience, because I feel like a lot of it depends on kind of being quite savvy with it, and promoting yourself in a certain way, and that's not necessarily always the way you think about you
mm,
know, these things as an artist. um but um but it's good for putting out the message, um and that's really how I think about it for us, as a user, not as an artist having a profile, but as a user. I think there's really dark pits in it, and I think there's also really beneficial aspects of it. So it's like, it's dualities, like everything, really.
mm.
Yeah,
Good point. Yeah, I mean, it literally works for me. It's how I find everybody. And
yeah,
like you mentioned there, Instagram itself, I find it more like almost like an EPK in its own, like a
yeah,
almost like, yeah, it's actually really, really helpful for people like me as well.
yeah.
But look, we're gonna talk as well. There's gonna be a lot of new people listening and watching to the band, new fans. So what I'd like first of all is a bit of an origin story for Dead Riders. Like, how did it all begin? I just love to hear, how the universe puts all this into perspective to get the band together.
Well, I started the band, so a few years ago, just shortly before the pandemic hit. So
Ah,
yeah, so we've been kind of around for a bit, and yeah, we've gone through a few transformations in the lineup. But yeah, I started this band with the idea that, you know, that it would be the vehicle for my songwriting, and an aesthetic vision, and also like my interest in literature, and incorporating aspects um of the creative world, you know, of like the arts world, visually, and conceptually, into the you know, the rock and roll band format. um so um so yeah, it's been for a little while, and we had a few attempts at like recording the first songs. Weren't particularly happy with it, so like we took everything down, kind of like took some time to um you know,
mm,
reframe and work a little bit on the music. And I would say that you know, since the last, I don't know, the last couple of years or so. I feel like that's the time when the band has actually started to pick up some interest.
Mm.
And you know, we've been releasing and we're currently recording more music. Um, and yeah, working on a new single and everything else. So that's kind of like the origins of it. Yeah, it's just I I want a rock and roll band that merged my love of poetry and literature with
Mhm.
the electricity of rock music.
Yeah. I love all that. And I do want to talk a bit more about the literature too, because I'm a literature fan myself. But like the sound from the band as well, this was something that really got me excited. It was just the mix, the sheer mix of everything. You know, I'm getting indie, goth, Beatles, Placebo, who I love. I can hear elements of all of
Right.
that within it, and the vaudeville side of it as well. So I'm just really curious about you, and who are you like a fan of that has helped to shape you into the artist that you are now?
Okay. I've gone through like many different obsessions, really. I would say that in terms of influential artists that you can hear a bit of in our music today with dead writers, I guess. Well, my favorite band were always Queen. Um, I'm a, you know, I learned classical music. I trained as a piano player when I was
Yeah.
a kid. So the Queen's finesse for melody and for all those like vocal orchestrations and unbound imagination in terms of how you can arrange and execute a rock and roll song, and that sort of like, yeah, classical sensitivity to it. That was always really close to me as an influence, and it still is.
Mm.
So yeah, Queen and everything that Queen came from as well. So like when you say the Beatles, like it really flatters me because I mean you're mentioning influences that are absolutely essential for popular music. I love the Beatles as well. Um, so lots of kind of rock and roll bands. I grew up listening to Led Zeppelin a lot.
Uh,
Um, I love I love uh, things like The Cure. Um,
mm,
I like Nick Cave a lot. Um, Placebo, I haven't really. I wouldn't say that they're so influential, but it's funny because like in Placebo, I hear The Cure and Nirvana and David Bowie, and all those I
yeah.
share as influential artists for me. So like even though it's very funny because like a lot of people have compared us to the Manic Street Preachers, and the first time we put out a single and we were getting reviews um, that they heard a little bit of the Manics in it. I'd never actually listened to the Manics before.
Yeah.
So and then I listened to them like, oh, okay, right. So it's like it's that sort of amalgamation of influences that maybe
Yeah.
you know, represent something for other people, but you
Hmm.
might not be directly taking from. Um, but yeah, so I don't know. Yeah, Queen, essential band. Jeff Buckley, yeah, Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, really huge influence for me, particularly over the last few years. Pretty much everything that The Cure has done, I love them. The Police, Sting, I really love, um, and also singing like Janis Joplin, you know, like really
Mm,
soul. I'm really into the soulful ones. Nina
yeah.
Simone. So I listen to a lot of music. So it's very difficult at any given time for me to give you like, oh, you know, what's most influential in my
Hmm.
music, um, because I feel like everything that I listen to kind of seeps in.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I feel like the names I've given you are probably the most well-oriented names.
Yeah. And like that's really fascinating to me as well, because it's just like elements of pieces of bands that sometimes, you know, remind you and you're like, oh, that reminds me of that band. And even if it's not even slightly intentional, that it can spill in because they're made up of other bands that are influential as
Uh,
well. So that's a really cool way to look at it. And actually, we're going to play our first song, and that is Among Spirits.
Among spirits,
I've chosen to spend my tomorrows, and I know whatever.
And we're back. That song's beautiful. I love the
Thank you
guitar in
so
it
much.
as well. There's like a 60s vibe. Like I grew up listening to a lot of 60s music. That's my dad's huge influence on that.
Yeah.
And then there's the modern kind of indie twist that you have. But can you tell me just about Among Spirits, just the story behind it?
Among Spirits is a song I wrote about when I was going through a couple of personal fractures in my life with essentially two people, one on the romantic side and another on the family side.
Mm.
And I was going through a period of crisis, and I then I watched this interview with a musician who described that that living as being an artist is like living among ghosts, because you're trying to look for those voices, to look for, in a state of inspiration, to look for the voices that might give you something to create something new with. And I like that expression of living with ghosts, and I turned it into living among spirits. And what basically what the song is, it is a song about personal growth and
Mm.
learning that sometimes, to become the person that you want to be, or that you need to be, you have to let go of situations, and you have to let go of previous selves or other people around you, who are not serving your purpose of development and your spiritual balance. So so also it's also like a call towards being fearless in your creative spirit. So I had my father when I was, who was very obstructive when it came to me developing a creative career. I had my father in mind, and I was like, you know, among spirits, I've chosen to live my tomorrows, to spend my tomorrows, and it's like, I may not pay so much attention to your opinion anymore. I'm growing up, you know, um, and it's basically, it's about that. It's a song about um, finding your path and being fearless. And also, like, there's forgiveness in it. There's, like, also the fact that it's not demonizing anybody. It's like, it's just, you've got your path and I've got mine, and then I feel free now.
I love that. That's absolutely amazing. That's really relatable, actually, as well. And like I always love speaking to people who write songs. Just from like the authenticity and vulnerability side of it as well. Because they're always so relatable. And I'm an emotional person. Like, I'm very emotionally connected to things. That's how I connect with music. And what I'd love to know from you is your songwriting process. Is there something within it that is unique to you, or does it depend on the song, how it even starts? Is it a melody? Is it a lyric? Like, what is your whole process of how you create the song? And this is also because I do a lot of work for brand new bands starting out, who are at the very beginning of the journey, and they always like to hear these kind of questions, from folks who are doing well and starting to make a rise in their name as well. So just from your perspective, from the songwriting process, if you can just let us know, is there anything unique or anything different from yourself?
My songwriting process is absolutely chaotic. I don't know. I don't know if I'm the right person to give anybody any advice, but I write from different angles all the time.
Mm.
I write from a lyric. I write from a musical idea. I write from imagination. I write in my head, not necessarily using an instrument. I wrote the chorus for Among Spirits, working out the chords and everything in my head when I was working as a teaching assistant supervising a playground. So and that's like the song just came to me, and I was just like writing the words in my head. So obviously that's got no rhyme or reason to it. And sometimes I write with purpose. That means that if I've started an idea and I notice that it needs work to develop into a fully formed piece of music, then I know that I have to sit down and I have to grapple with it. And a lot of the time, particularly with lyric writing, I grapple because I'm never fully. It takes me a very long time to be fully satisfied with a lyric I've written, because I take a lot of pride in my lyrical voice as a writer, a songwriter. Um, so I can work a song for months or years sometimes,
Mm.
and I just take anything that's available. Really, I sit at the piano and I noodle and I write, little like voice memos. Sometimes I just put myself in front of a Logic session, um, and I just start tracking instruments and see what happens. So sometimes it's more organized, sometimes it's absolutely chaotic and unprepared. But I like the discipline of it. I like,
Mm.
I have this sort of mantra that at least once every day do something that is putting a seed of creativity in your work. So I try to write at least something every day.
Yeah, I actually kind of touched on it a wee bit there, and that is imposter syndrome. For creative people, it is something that we all have to deal with. I think
Mm,
it's just part and parcel of being creative. And again, this is something that I like to ask artists about, because it allows these new artists and new songwriters who are coming along to feel that wee bit less alone, because a lot of them, they feel this, especially at the very beginning. Am I good enough? Are my songs good enough? Is there a time when you know to trust your gut when you're writing a song that it is going to be a good song? Or is there a technique that you use, or is there a person you hand it to? Is there something within that to help you cope with imposter syndrome?
that's a I don't know if that's a question that I can answer very well, because I don't really have imposter syndrome. Like I have doubts, and I have, my worries that, how am I going to get this music to the people of the world, and how am I going to get them, the greatest number that I can, to listen to it. But I love my work, and I think that already dispels all the voices about whether my work is good or not. To me, the the instrument that I use is,
Mm.
am I moved by this? Is this honest? Is this speaking my truth? Am I emotionally, touched by it in some way? Am I excited by it? If I find myself singing a song in my head that I've been writing recently, and I find myself walking down the street, and the song comes into my head, and I get a bit of a buzz about it, then that's a good sign. It's like, it's intuition. Um,
Mm.
it's purely intuition. I don't well, I don't mean to sound too arrogant about it, but I think that the filter is yourself. It's like, if you love what you're doing and you get excited, that's a very good sign. That means that your idea is is touching something. It's like moving, shifting energy in you, and that means that it can shift energy in other people. And you don't know who these people are going to be, um, but but I'd rather give an opportunity to a song that I may not be so sure about whether it's potentially a hit or anything like that, based on some insecurity that I've applied to it in the first place. It's like,
Mm.
I don't I don't really I don't really have that problem. I work from the love of my work. I love what I do, and if I bring it to a point where it's finished, it's because I've believed in it.
Mhm.
A lot of my ideas I discard because I feel like, at the time of the generation of the idea, um, seemed like it had potential in it, but then I realized that it didn't stand that little test of time of coming back to it and going like, am I still excited about it? No, it was just a little, a little slip, and I throw it away,
Yeah.
So that's, I don't know, I would encourage everybody to write a little like that, because like the problem is like the alternative to that is very dangerous for the artist psychology. I feel like all the, I really, the imposter syndrome and all that, and feeling like all these words like you're not good enough, they're very strong words, and they're never going to help you, and I have the biggest inner critic. Like I'm like the guardian of excellence of my work, like I want it to be great, but I come to it with positivity. I try to come to it like dispelling the voices that go like, oh my god, nobody's gonna like this or anything like this. It's not, to me, that has no place. I feel that's a very destructive force, and we're in the business of creative force. You know what I mean? So it doesn't matter. You write a song, you're proud of it, go ahead. It's great. Put it out.
Absolutely love your perspective on it. I really like, that's probably one of the best perspectives I've heard on imposter syndrome yet. So thank you. And that's going to be really helpful for the kids. Honestly, like that's so good. The other thing that I like to ask as well is, we did kind of touch on it a wee bit earlier, is the evolvement of a band. And I do believe that that is a journey that pretty much all bands do need to do. It's like a natural progression to evolve as a band. And one of the things that I get DM'd by new bands is that they feel they have to be perfect immediately. And I don't know if this is social media, modern times, what it is that's doing it to these kids, but they feel like they have to be ready. Songs have to be ready. Sound has to be ready. Look has to be ready straight away instead of evolving. And you're absolutely a perfect example that evolving is normal. So have you anything that you can offer then as well, just to advise them to slow down, enjoy it, and not put yourself under so much pressure? Because music is, again, it's supposed to be, like you said, creative, fun, and something that you enjoy, not something that you're putting yourself under pressure with.
You catch me out with that one, because I am not particularly great with the pressure business. I'm very self-demanding, and I get a little bit anxious sometimes, and yeah, then I realize, the thing is, like, it's like with everything, like if it catches you on a good day, you feel strong and you feel positive, and you understand the power and the necessity for that evolution, like to realize that things take time. And I feel like I can really understand when people, because I am that person, I have been that person, I am still that person, that starts a project and wants it to go, to skyrocket in in a year or a couple of years, to be in the place where you always dreamed that you could be. And I'm still working on that, that's still very much my journey. And a lot of the time, you feel very, for one of a less buzzy word, vulnerable. You feel very vulnerable to the attack of that pressure. I think it's because the values of the society that we live in are really quite aggressive, in terms of the time that we have, or that we are allowed to emerge, to grow. So that has its benefits, but I think it's also good to live with a sense of urgency, and I think that youth gives you that, and being excited about a new project gives you that. You can't really sit around waiting for it to happen. You have to make it happen, so I think take what's best from both, really. Like, a tiny bit of anxiety has helped me sometimes a little bit to actually go, like, to make decisions, because I can be really indecisive, I can be. I live in, the republic of ambivalence sometimes, and and sometimes having a little anxiety has actually pushed me in a direction,
Mm,
and then you move with it, and you take steps, and you make your mistakes, and you make your developments, and you learn basically. So I think a bit of everything. Like it's great. I think it's great to have expectations. I think there's a lot of people out there in the world right now doing what we want to do, wanting to, have a voice and be successful, and that's great. There's energy, there's creative energy in the world. If you want to be somebody like that, make sure that you're working on it, but like you're coming to it from a place of honesty, that you're being sincere with who you want to be, and make sure that if you need to borrow, you need to steal, if you need to like take from somebody else, then make sure that you're taking without being a direct imitator, like create who you are, make this sort of like patchwork kind of collage of who you want to be, mm, from the heart, execute from the heart, play from the heart, always be yourself. That's what I would say.
I love the way you look at things. It's so cool.
Thank you.
Um, like I know that you did perform. It was Coco Camden for Marvin Magazine,
That's right.
which was co-hosted by Youngblood, and you've also played Wildfire Festival. And I do see your band being someone that could probably play the likes of Glastonbury and places like that. You're that type of band, that level. You're definitely, there's a lot of buzz around you guys as well. And I'm just curious, what's been the highlight so far with performances that you've done that have stood out to you?
Oh, I think for us it was playing Coco,
Mm,
for Marvin, because, well, for me personally, it's just one of those venues where you feel like you're on holy ground. Um, I've
mm,
seen I've seen artists that I absolutely look up to and revere in every way. Mark Lanigan, I saw at Coco. Elliot Ochoa from the Buena Vista Social Club. I've seen, um, just beautiful music. So for me to tread on those boards with my little rock and roll band, I had this electricity going through me, and I think that we performed really really well as well. We were just so excited, and for me, just um, looking at the building and people really enjoying the music, even though it
mm,
was a really short set. Um, I got this message from you know above somewhere, that tell me, if you're here, it's because you deserve to be here. You belong here. Um, and one day you're going to come back and it's going to be your own show.
mm.
And to have little moments like that, apart from the fact that it sounded fucking amazing, like it was like the experience, the performance experience on stage, like really professional, um, circumstances and sound and space to perform in, and it's just delightful. It's just when you touch a little bit of like the next level, and you go like, okay, this is really what I want to do. So for me it was most definitely Coco, and people loved it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And actually, just kind of leaning into that a bit more, what I love to ask bands, it's one of my favorite questions, is your first time ever performing in front of people. Can you remember it? And did anything
Yeah.
happen that just kind of made you cement that this is what you want to do?
Yeah. You mean as a solo singer or something like that?
As a 5-year-old, as a 12-year-old, whatever it was, the first time where it went, because for me, I was forced into dancing. I hated it.
Right.
And I was pushed onto the stage, to perform, and I just cried and ran away. But I've never wanted to get on a stage ever again. So I'm
Yeah.
always curious, because you guys, you're obviously, nothing has put you off. You want to do it. So was there something that cemented it for you?
Yes. Well, I don't know if it was so. Um, significant at the time, but it was, I guess I can make reference to what one of my first experiences performing in front of people. And when you kind of feel that magic, I like, oh, I feel like I could be good at this. I was a choir boy when I was a kid, and I was in choirs, and I was the soloist in one of the choirs I sang in, and I remember that I was given like a few parts, like a few solo parts, and we were performing in this lovely cathedral somewhere, and I remember singing and my voice trembling with the excitement of being the the spot of attention, right? But at the same time, that tremble in the voice made it beautiful. I liked it. I liked that excitement. I liked that adrenaline. And I remember then, not much long afterwards, I did this performance, like school performance when I was a kid, and I sang Titanic. What's that Titanic song? My Heart Will Go On.
Damn, that's a song.
Yeah, in front of my schoolmate who played keyboard, and I sang in front of the whole like school assembly and teachers and everything, and I really loved that, and I was like very
Yeah.
small and young, small in personality, like small also physically, but also like I didn't know who I was. I was just a child, but I remember getting a lot of like positive attention from that, even like the teachers like writing cards for me and going like, Paul, like you have a beautiful voice and like you're so inspiring to a young person. I'm like, really? I just sang a song, but I loved it. I loved preparing for it. I loved exercising like my practice. And I just realized that there was something about singing in front of people or performing in front of people that gave me a place in the world. It gave me a way to connect, and I was typically a very shy person when I was a kid. I'm less so now, but I had this very sort of like scared kind of like secondary personality, and singing, performing was this like new state for me, of showing what I could do, and who's not going to like that, right?
Oh, that's so cute. I love that wee story too. That's why I asked that question. But look, we're going to play another song now, and this time it's actually my favorite one, Lisa.
Let's go.
Lisa, 20 years old and stitched up, everything around her speeds up.
Okay, and we're back. And actually, that one, I believe it was Classic Rock had it as single of the week, isn't that right? So congrats on that.
Thank you.
That's awesome. So can you tell me what were the challenges, or were there any challenges in creating that song? And also its inspiration as well, which I believe was literature based, if I'm right.
Yeah, that's correct. Challenges. Well, it was one of the first songs that we recorded. I remember I absolutely destroyed my fingers. I skinned my fingers when I was playing the piano solo. It's got like a really honky tonk style piano solo. And I was going for, it's got lots of like, they're called glissandos. They're like, when you like, when you pass your finger through all the keys, like from the top of the keyboard and go like, right. And I was like doing slide after slide. I couldn't quite get it right. And I remember that, but I was just so into it that I didn't notice that my fingers were bleeding. So that was great. So there's blood on that particular track. And I don't know. A lot of it was improvisational because it was recorded during COVID. Like in the middle of COVID, we were lucky enough to book some studio time out of London for a few days, and we just packed everything that we needed to record into those days, and then we did some after production bits in London, in my house. The challenges were that we were quite limited. So a lot of the time these sessions were like we had to keep distance and everything, and that could have, I don't really remember it very well, but I think that might have felt a little bit isolating. That's the only thing. But I was so into that recording when we were making it that it didn't really matter to me. And in terms of inspiration, Lisa came when I was reading Dostoevsky's Notes from the Underground, which is a fabulous novel. It's considered one of the first existentialist novels. And Notes from the Underground tells the story in first person of the unnamed character called the Underground Man. And at one point in the book, towards the end of the book, this man who is embittered and hostile and happy, really unhappy in his life, meets this sex worker called Liza, and the song kind of like starts from the dialogue that they have, because Liza is trapped in a world of prostitution and in a very dark, sleazy world, but she has a different attitude towards life than he has. So I took that dialogue and I wanted to write a song about the female character from her perspective, like still talking like as if I was the Underground Man, but changing the perspective to give a little bit of space to how she might be feeling in that situation, like giving her the focus and the protagonist role. So, and also from Liza, I changed it to Lisa because it had a better rhyme in English. So with Lisa, you've got Releaser and Teaser and all of those, and the Tower of Pisa and all that. So that's where it came from. Yeah, and it's actually the book that gave the band its name.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, because I was reading. I finished reading that book, and I put it down, and I looked at my. I have lots of books. Like I studied English literature at uni, and I've always loved literature and reading. So I have like a collection of books, and I was just looking at what to read next, and I sort of had this thought to myself. And I said, Paul, everything you read is by dead people, because I love classic literature, and I was like, everything you read is by dead people. And I got like, around that time I was looking for a band name or name for the band, and I thought, Dead Writers. That's what it's going to be. It's got a great ring to it. So that's it. Yeah.
I love that. Like I really loved it too. Like when I saw the name, I was like, oh, that's such a cool name for a band. It really works.
Thank you. People love it. Yeah, I think it's because it's got an instant vibe to it. It's got atmosphere, and it represents the sound of the band as well. So, it's just one of those that they fall from the sky.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And actually the video to Lisa is really good as well. It's such a good watch. I really enjoyed the video for it.
Thank you.
Do you have who is the creative person behind the video? Is that yourself as well, or have you got a direct? What way do you do that?
No, I wrote that. So I co-directed it with with the person who was filming the footage. But yeah, I wrote it was my first videographic work, I could call it. So I just I came up with the idea, with the concept, with the venue. It's the George Tavern in London, which is a really cool place. Lots of great bands are coming from performing at that venue, most notably The Last Dinner Party recently. And yeah, I found the venue. I fell in love with it. I love the aesthetic. It was really like, in tune with what I was, that sort of like turn of the century / cabaret / Rocky Horror Picture Show slash everything else, you know. And I just roped in all of my friends who are in some way involved in performance, you know, like performers, actors, musicians, and I gave them the brief, you know, like I put together like mood boards, you know, like that, you know, you should look like this and everything, and I wrote the storyboard. So I created kind of like the scenes, and then I presented it to the videographer, and we put it together. But yeah, I mean, it was a collective effort at the same time as well, because all my friends came and they did their own makeup, and they brought, you know, their own clothes, and with my help, obviously. But like, you know, everybody just turned up on a Wednesday morning and did it. And you know, they were just absolutely brilliant in every way. So yeah, it's got spirit. It's got like a real, you know, a real kind of, yeah, energy going on that video. And it was the first time I did that. So thank you for your kind words. You know,
Oh no,
I'm great.
it's so good to watch. Like I really, really enjoyed watching it. But I
Yeah.
love all that. I love the visual side of it as well. And actually, like what I've noticed as well about your band is the fact you're not afraid to be experimental too with the music. I love that. Like Bowie was the, you know, the leader of that to me anyway. Being experimental, do what you got to do, don't care what anyone else thinks, and you know, eventually they'll get it, basically. But it also reminds me of another new band out at the moment that I've interviewed a few times called The Vantages. They're a band from Finland. You might actually like them. They're really good too. But again,
Yeah.
they're not afraid to experiment either. And yours has like so many layers of like emotions and artistry and experimentation. There's just a lot that goes on in there that all comes together to work really, really well. And I'm curious, do you ever like worry about how it would translate live when you're putting it all together?
Would you? I don't know, if you're an artist, like a visual artist, would you be concerned that your paintings are a little bit different from each other when they go to the gallery? You know, that's how I feel about it. Obviously, I think that part of the work of a songwriter and an artist, or a person in a band, or whatever, is to make sure that that the voice, the message of the work has got some cohesive thread through it, so it's relatable. It's, you know, it's got something in common that takes you through it. But at the same time, I don't know if this is like a generational thing, but for me, I feel like nowadays we experience life in such a 3D way, you know, so global. So like we're so stimulated by different things, and so it's always come naturally to me to express myself in that way, to not really put too many categories or expectations around the music. It's good to give it a good package, but you know, just the same as I want Dead Writers music to be a journey, to be something that to have something for everyone, you know. So like Lisa and Among Spirits are drastically different songs in many ways, but they share that they are my experience as a songwriter, you know, and the musicians that perform in it. And there's that kind of like uniqueness to it that I guess that's the most important thing. Other than that, I'm very happy to actually recognize that as a power, as something to be proud of, that our music carries an originality that makes it interesting every time, you know, that there's nothing more boring than generic music to me, and I think that formulaic music has very little time in your heart, whereas if you tap into the nature of things, you know, the nature of the world, like all the influences that are available, and you bring them into your own work, you stand the chance to make it much more interesting, much more varied, much more multi cultural in a way, you know, like diversity, you know, you make it diverse. And And that's, you know, it's like a painter with colors, you know, why wouldn't you use what's available, you know? So when we perform it live, it's always a dead writer show, you know, and people actually comment on that as something that they like, you know, when they come up to you after the show and go like, oh, you know, like the chorus in that, fantastic, and also this other song, the cabaret one, you know, when you're on the piano and all that, it's like, it's so different, it's brilliant, you know, it's like you guys can do so many different things. And I'm like, thank you so much. And that makes me happy because well, I've already explained it.
But no, you are right. And look, I think that's one of the things that really does stand out to me, because you're right. There's so many generic like bands out there at the moment. And look, that's fine for them. But I always like something that stands out from the crowd that's different. And I also believe that that creates longevity too, if you are different.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But look, we're going to do a wee fun question now. I like to do some wee fun questions every so often. And this one is basically, if you could go to any decade with dead writers to perform, would you go back in time, or would you take a risk and go forward in time?
Wow, that's a good one. Forward, always.
Forward. Interesting. Yeah. You're the first one to choose to go forward.
Really? Well, it's just because I live with this philosophy. I'm not nostalgic, you know. I live with this philosophy that what's around the corner, you know, what's best is yet to come, or the best is yet to come. And I feel like you know, we can all romanticize about, you know, previous times, but we only know the highlights of it. We only know the tip of the iceberg. Look, a part of me would like to tell you that, you know, it would be pretty cool to be a band in I don't know, in the UK around 1779 or 82 or something like that, where, you know, so many bands that are influential for me were actually around, you know. And to be able to maybe share a show with you know, like, you know, share the stage with some of those bands. But I'm in the business of the present and my future, and so I'll give you the uncertain future as the answer.
I love it. Like, that's such a different, unique way to do it. Oh my God, that's so cool. Well, look, we're going to actually be playing out with the song Meet the Shadow. But before we do, I just want to ask a few more wee questions. And it's just, first of all, about the song itself. You know, the inspiration behind it, stories behind it, and what you love most about that song as well.
Meet the Shadow. Well, Meet the Shadow is written about the shadow self, so it's inspired by Carl Jung's theory of the shadow personality. So it deals with the duality, you know, the parts of ourselves that we don't understand, that we don't like, you know, the duality between the creative and the destructive force in everyone, the shadow and the light. And how that can really toss us around, you know, and throw us off as human beings. So that's what the song is about. It's about engaging with that temporary madness, you know, with the struggle of you versus yourself, and it's just a snapshot of that struggle. I think we all go through it in some way. I personally, I feel very intensely. I tend to internalize emotions a lot. Then I externalize it in music a lot of the time, you know. So it's a song about inner battles with yourself, insecurity, you know, depressive moments, things like that, you know, just the suffering. But at the same time, it's encouraging the listener to actually, get a bit of a wake up call about it, so like to not be afraid to be imperfect and human. So that's basically what the song is about, really.
I love that. Actually, that's such a good way to put it as well. And just finally as well, have you anything else coming up? Anything else that you're working on that we can expect soon?
Yeah, so we are I'm in the process of touching up the recording of a song called "She's All the Animals," which is I think the most celebrated song in our shows, and people really love it. And I really like it, and we did a recording of it that I wasn't quite happy with a while ago. So I'm just finishing up a few details, and as soon as it's ready, we'll put out as a collection of the music that we've released until now. We'll use "She's All the Animals" as the lead track, and we'll just put it out as an EP, and that will come relatively soon. Can't give you a date yet, but relatively soon this year, before the end of the year. And then that will be like our first kind of EP, to just sum up what we've done so far. And at the moment we're working on new songs, so we're getting band in the studio as soon as we can. But we've been working on maybe like 4 or 5 new songs that are sounding great, and that we're very excited about. So yeah, there's more where that came from.
Awesome. And I actually have a lot of followers from Europe and the Nordics, believe it or not.
Oh, do you?
And yeah, and I actually had some DM me when I said I was interviewing you, and they wanted to know, will you ever be coming to Europe anytime soon?
Oh, absolutely, as soon as we can. Like,
Yeah.
the thing is, like, everybody asked us this, and the thing is, we'd love to. It's just a little bit. It takes a little bit of work and a little bit of like like logistics and money, quite honestly, to materialize your dreams. And I would be so happy to go to France, to Italy, to Germany, to Spain, to like anywhere, and bring the band to the rest of the world. We're just in the process of making the right connection so that we can do it in a way that's that's successful in some way. And but yeah, we'd really love to. We're planning to do a bit of a tour around the UK as well, and to kind of start kind of like spreading out and covering territory as a rock and roll band on the road. So yeah, there will be all of these things will come. There's a lot going on behind the scenes at the moment, so we're working on it.
Awesome. Well, there you go. I ask so you can stop DMing me, people. They keep DMing me. All right,
leave her alone.
Look, thank you so much for hanging out with me. It's an absolute pleasure chatting with you. I've really enjoyed it.
Oh, pleasure's all mine, Cheryl. Thank you so much. And yeah, beautiful to meet you, and thank you for giving us a little platform to talk about our music. It's really wonderful that people like you exist. So thank you so much. It really helps us, and I hope to meet you in person one day.
We will, I'm sure.
Whereabouts in Northern Ireland are you?
Have you heard of Armagh?
No, not really.
We're close to Armagh, so about maybe an hour inland from Belfast. So it's quite a bit in, just in the middle of nowhere, really.
Right.
The country.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I hope we can meet at a show sometime.
Definitely. And even if you were to come over and play Belfast, we would definitely be at that. And then obviously we go across the water a lot for shows as well. Big music fans here, so we will definitely catch you guys out at some point. But here it is, guys. We are now going to play Meet the Shadow.